Okay, good morning, or good afternoon, or maybe good evening.
Good afternoon, good night, whatever your phrase is.
Wherever you're watching this. So I'm kindly joined this morning, or this afternoon, by James Trimble. James is out in Australia. James works for Raine Horne, and I love the signs you've got behind you about learning and engaging and learning and acting. So maybe we're talking about that. So thank you so much for joining me at the end of the day and coming up to your weekend. Really, really grateful. And thank you for the people that are joining us this morning. Very grateful for you watching now. Appreciate it's breakfast time in the UK. So thank you. Or if you're watching on replay, thank you for joining us. So James, grateful for you coming on this morning. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So how come a POM is living in Australia and working successfully over there?
Well, long story short, at university, got into real estate, as they would call it over here, or estate agency, as I commonly known it. And like most people at university, it's, I need a job to pay for beer and food. So that's where it all started. Went to work for Barnard Marcus. After leaving university, went full-time into Barnard Marcus in Fulham. Did a few years in Barnard Marcus Fulham, went to Kenley in KFH in Earlsfield. Did a couple of years there, very successful, before a very brief move to Chesterton. And then across to Winkworths, where I spent a decade at Winkworths, looking after the growth of their franchise network under Dominic A. Gase and Simon A. Gase. Grew about 40, 50 of the offices there. And then during that time, I'd met what is now my wife, who was Australian. And we moved to Australia to bring up our children. So my kids are at the moment 7, 5, and 3. And it was a conversation of, you know, Surrey or Sydney at the time. And like any good marriage, I lost.
Well, in fact, we've got quite a few people joining us this morning. So let's say a few hellos.
See?
There you go. You're a popular draw, James. So morning Abigail from Wembley, morning Jeremy from Billericay, morning Andrea from Scotland. So there you go, going nationwide in the UK. So please give James loads of love. Let's share this. Let's get the message out. So differences between the UK and Australia.
I think one thing to say is that we talk differences, but we actually should be talking similarities. The one thing that made it very easy when I stepped off the plane in Sydney at the time, and I've basically done the period of time in London where grown the franchise, knew the franchise law, knew the specifics of it, stepped off the plane in Sydney and went, right, I'm going to get a job, let's go and do what I've been doing. And the similarities, the values, the culture, that is exactly the same. And I think what's really worth pointing out is that Australia and the UK are very property hungry places. You know, the aspiration of, I want to buy a house, the aspiration of owning your home, the aspiration of owning a rental investment, that's exactly the same. So that inherent DNA, yes, we bag each other when the cricket's on and the rugby's on, and quite frankly, living here, I'm not going to stop doing that either. But the point is those cultures are exactly the same. So what it made it very easy to plug in and slot in. And I think going from, you know, to what I do now, as well as working with real estate agents or estate agents, the values of what those estate agents wanted to go out on their own, set up on their own, but also those that are employed by the offices that I work with closely, wanting to do better, is exactly the same. The differences are probably down to operationals, licensing, vendor paid advertising, but also one thing that's really evident is that the appetite to personally develop is huge here. Whereas I found in the UK, it could be, you know, I'm top of the game, I'm brilliant, I don't need any help. Here, you've got the $1 million agents going, right, great, I've done $1 million. How do I get to 1.5? How do I get to 2? What else can I buy? Can I buy his rent roll? Can I then take that sales team, put them into my office? What can I do to shore up my market share? What can I do to grow? Do I need to personally coach? Do I need to personally develop? And that's something that appetite here is much greater than I saw in the UK.
Why do you think that is? Because that's really interesting. Because again, I came over to ARIC a couple of years ago, and I think there's maybe 5,000 people there, all wanting to learn, all spend 2 days with 48 speakers. You know, I know we've just had the Property Academy, or Virtual Property Academy estate agent event here, where there was maybe about 1,500 people here, which, you know, which was exceptional.
And if you put that into context as well, 1,500 people from a population of 60 million, you know, Eric, 5,000 people from 22 million, but people flying in 5 hours from Perth to spend it, you know, spending 3 or 4 days out of the office, spending thousands upon thousands of themselves. That appetite to learn, to see the best of the best and grow from them is admirable to see. And it's really, you know, when I see, I mean, my role here as GM of South Australia, I want my guys that are writing 400 to aspire to 1 million. I want the guys writing 1 million to aspire to 1.5. I want everybody in their office, whatever rank and role they do, to go, let's look up, not down. And it should be that you chase number one, not, oh, I'm away from bottom three. You know, it shouldn't be a relegation fight to use the Premier League. It should be a sort of a Champions League fight.
100%. So let's talk about the 2 signs behind you. And let's just say welcome a few more people that have joined this morning. So welcome Nicola, thank you for joining. Sam, thanks for joining. David Speckman, thanks for joining. Ashley Lowe, thanks for joining. Very grateful. So learn and engage and learn and act. I mean, start with learn and engage. What does that mean to you?
A lot of the mantra that we've operated, obviously, so when we did our rebrand back in 2016 with it, and we've been around for a good period of time. We've been around since 1883, but you can't look back, you've got to look forward. So a lot of the sort of the focus on our development has been, what are we doing and what else? So don't just learn, go out there and do something with it. You know, learn your processes, learn your structures, learn all of that go with it, and then go and engage to develop yourself. You know, we talk about recruitment, retention, we talk about personal development, we talk about not standing still, and it's all part of that. I mean, it's not one single silver bullet answer. You know, you can't learn and act and do this, you'll get the listing this afternoon, or if you learn this and engage that. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. It is about lots of teeny weeny 1% to get the result that you need. And I'm not talking about 1% fees. We don't accept that.
Well, again, that's another thing. Funnily enough, a year ago, I was in San Francisco, and we went to a realtors conference out there. And we just had some conversations with the Americans out there. They asked us, you know, so what do you charge? We said, well, you know, for the agents I'm with, you know, they will get anything between 1.5% and 2%. But the average UK fee is most probably a lot closer now to 1%. And you should have seen their faces. I mean, no way. And in fact, I'm just joined by my San Fran buddy here, Luke Sinclair. Good morning, Luke. Morning, Andy Overman. Thanks for joining us. And it's scary. So fees, and I want to come back to the learn and act, because I think acting and implementing is really important.
Well, that's probably what we're talking about with scripts and dialogues.
Yeah, so it's great to learn, but, you know, how do people actually implement and do it? Because that's the challenge a lot of people face here.
On that note, we as Raine Horne were rolling something out with a chap called Daniel Spencer, and it's all about the process. So if you haven't had a look at him, go and have a look at him on LinkedIn, go and follow him on LinkedIn, watch his little 1-minute videos. But it's all about the way that you answer the phone, or the way that the person answers the phone, all the way through the journey. It's like if you buy a car from the person that sells you on the forecourt. Then you get handed over to the after-sales care, who, if does a good job, all of a sudden, 3 years down the line, you're back on the forecourt again. So all of the roles with the process, you know, it's not just good morning, what do you want? It's the process, the right questions, the system, structure, process, repeat. And that's really what it comes down to. It never stops.
Okay, so coming back on something that you just talked about, one of my biggest learning in the UK, good morning, Vicky, is that 95% of agents here don't have any stay in touch policy. So you talked on about the car salesman, and yes, you know, every year, every 2 years, I would get a call from them, especially the second year, do you want to change your car? What are you doing at Raine Horne to have a stay in touch policy?
I think you've got to look at it as twofold. One is you can program and you can process and you can structure. But if that person's not willing, you can't do anything. You know, we will work with the people that want to work with us all the time, and that's the same in any of the industry. Any of the people that have joined us, whether that be in my old life at sort of Barnard Marcus, at Kinley, at Chesterton, at Winkworths, you can work with people that want to follow process, want to develop them, and it's not a surprise that we see the ones that follow those processes are always in the top 100 listers or top 100 writers. Over here we have something called the REB Top 100. All those top 100 have system structures process. One of the things that we've brought into place, and I think this is probably evident, that we open every email as a prop tech this or a prop tech that, or there's something. One of the major players, or one of the major plays that we've always looked at is tech. And it has to be that tech is your friend, not your replacement. You know, tech is there to remind you that you must do this or you must do that. Well, tech's also gone that next level to go, oh, good morning, Stephen. It's a year since you bought the house from us. Bang. That email's gone from me. I don't know it's gone from me. But it's having the process and the structure when you settle the house or complete on the house to have that CRM with the date programmed in, that with the action plan attached to it, that for the next 10 years says hello to you from me, from my database to you. It may as well have come from me. In all intents and purposes, it's come from my mobile number, it's come from my email address, it's come from my CRM, but I haven't sent it by going, because, you know, I was talking to an office the other day, got 13,500 live clients in their database. It's impossible to A, know them, or B, contact them. As much as you think you can't be friends with 13,000 people. So if you can get the tech working with you, if you can get the automations, whether it be, I mean, we've just moved over in September last year to Vault RE, which is branded Compass Plus for us. And that's got a lot of integration, a lot of AI automation with the ability to have canned responses, the ability to have those automations, the ability to have action plans. But in the old mail merge way that you would write a letter, it takes the data out of your CRM and mail merges the email so it looks like I'm writing to you specifically. We will not stop looking at those sort of things to be tech friends. And if that means that I free up 8-9 hours a day more a week, whatever the time is for the officers, to be human, then you've got 9 hours to be human, to, you know, look at somebody in the eye, read their body language, spend a few more minutes on the listing presentation or on the appraisal. Tech's not going to replace that human. Well, it might do in 20, 30 years time, but right now, to be human is the pinnacle. But a lot of people we see and we talk to, and you'll see this as well, a lot of people will spend a lot of time, doing the things that tech can do for them. A lot of people you'll see will be writing the same 25 emails every week, 25 times from fresh. So why? Why not get out there and be dollar productive or pound productive? You know, 24 hours a day, this should be a good quality life, this should be a good quality business, that family life, friends life, business, all can fit together perfectly. But if you're sending the same email 25 times, you write it 25 times. That's just one little example of how much more you can add. So we'll always keep looking for what's the next thing that can integrate. What's the next thing that we can add value to our officers, that they can go out and they can recruit. They can also look back at their team and retain. So that comes back to learn and engage, learn and act. You know, just hiring them and giving them a brand with a nice business card, well, yeah, that's great, but that's very 1987. It's so much more than that now.
100%. Thank you. So can I come back to fees?
Yes, absolutely.
So one of the things there that when I was out there and I learned was that apart from, I think, maybe Fine and Country in the UK, I don't really know any agents here that are using vendor paid advertising. You know, I know that's something that's massive in Australia.
It's huge, and there are also businesses that have sprouted up to support it, and I'll come back to that in a second. Vendor paid advertising, and I think it links into your fees as well, is that we know, and I can go back and I won't quote statistics because it's not fair from my old business and old life, but you know, fees of 1.25, 1.5% in London was not uncommon. And we regularly used to hear pictures of, oh, I can do 1.5, but if you're getting a better offer, I'll offer you a better price. And all of a sudden you've negotiated against yourself. But we also saw that when you went to the country where the property prices, you'd go out, you'd jump on a train, you go an hour down the train line, it dropped to 1% to 1.1 to 1.2. And that's included everything, you dreaded Rightmove or you dreaded Zoopla, whatever you want to call them, sort of the portals, the monsters everyone describes that we read about on Property Industry Eye and so on. But they become an integral monster. But if you look here, your fees are 1.5 to 2.2 every day of the week. And this is the big thing that, if you take out the cost of sale, work out what your net fee is, it's actually not 1.5. It's probably more like 0.5. So here you'll see it'd be 1.5, 1.75, 2%, 2.2, whatever. And by the way, I want $1,500, which is about £750, marketing fees. And that's for a board. So what board would you like? Oh, you want a bigger board? Well, okay, well, that's our next package up. That's another $150. Photographs, yes, we'll charge you for those. Brochures, yes, we'll charge you for those. And so on. And then we come to Rightmove's equivalent over here is realestate.com.au. And then domain is probably the equivalent to Zoopla over here. Yes, we want $1,500 to put your property on, or $1,000 or $500, depending on which suburb you're in, per property. So realestate.com over here is per property. So I know in my old life where it was, it's another £1,000 for Rightmove this month. Well, if you're carrying a stock of 20 properties, that's potentially $20,000 if you're not getting vendor paid advertising. So it makes you good at scripts and dialogues to add value to justify the sale.
So again, if I'm a vendor in Australia, presumably a lot of vendors do object to it. So, how do you overcome that objection?
It's probably conditioned that people are the norm. So anything like selling house wine or the next level up, you never go in and go, it's $1,000, but you can have this one at $3,000. So the way that we present ours is very much slightly different. It's gold, silver, bronze, or bronze, silver, whatever the phrase is, that you've got the one that's basic, this will get you on the internet and will get you the basics. This is the one that gives you everything. And this is the one that will do the drone and will fly the drone in and will do a video and so on. So you want to condition them through the middle. Now, at the end of the day, the cheapest price is the ones that get you the most value and leave you with the ones at the end, the net price the most at the end. So the cheapest agent is not the one that charges you the cheapest. It's the one that actually gets you the most price. And then you look at your net result.
100%. Couldn't agree more. What I've loved so far, you've mentioned my two favourite words loads of times, add value. So what do you do to add value throughout the customer's journey?
I think with any real estate transaction, quite frankly, any transaction, is its customer service, not a number. You're not just stephenbrown@gmail.com or whatever you are. You're Stephen. It's what do you know about your client? The phone calls that you've made to your client. It's nothing worse than I'm ringing to touch base. Really. Why should I take your call the next time if all you want to do is touch base? Add value to your conversation, add value to your calls. Make your notes in your CRM so you remember what you're talking about. If they've got a Labrador that barks at you every time, write it in your notes. If the guy's got a red car that just like your mum's, write it in your notes. It'll jog your memory and it'll just make that conversation easier, because it's easier to do a deal with somebody when you're having a conversation. We've all seen Tom Panos and we've seen those likes when they talk about the commission breath sort of approach. If you're trying to sell, you're failing to sell. But if you're just talking, it's a lot easier to do a deal and feel comfortable. And people who feel relaxed usually have trust in the conversation, have trust in the person, and are more likely to deal with them.
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a trusted advisor.
You're looking for someone to add value. So yeah, you can stick your house on the market. You put $500,000 on the price. You stick it in the window. Great, I get $490. But if a trusted advisor can get you $650, they're $10,000, $15,000 fees cheap, because your net result is higher along. The biggest problem is, how do you get that knowledge across? And we talk about everybody's in a competition, a bit like the FA Cup for a better phrase. We're all playing round one, but we don't know we're in round one. That's our marketing, that's our advertising, that's our presence, that's our profile, that's our reputation. It's only we know we're in the game in round 2 when they call us to sit on the sofa. They call us in to discuss things over the coffee table or around the kitchen table. So the big thing all of the time is, how do you know when you're in the game? Well, you've just got to simply trust it as you're always in the game. There's always somebody on the market, and you've got to assume that somebody of influence is going to be on the market. They'll always be on the market, and if they're not on the market, they'll know somebody that is or about to be on the market. And that influential advert is a composite of 50, 60 different things.
Definitely. So what's your pre-listing process like then?
So the pre-list process, we use something called DigiKit here with Raine Horne. And I think one of the things I've just asked my officers today is, what are you doing as the same as the other agent? Are you just doing the same thing with a different logo? Well, if you are, how do they trust you? How do they pick you? Or why have they picked you? So you've got to count back 5 or 10 steps and actually work out what they've done well, and why have they got to that stage, so that they've picked up the phone to you, and then you can work with them. What we introduced here is something called DigiKit, which is a pre-list tool. So if I've got their name, I've got their number, I've got their address, and I've got their email address, then within a few minutes, we can ping off a pre-listing kit, which is a bit like a digital CV. And I can send you an example of this, Stephen. You're welcome to share it with your team. I'll let you on as you're a vendor of mine, and feel free to share it later. But the idea is that most people, when I first started, it was, James, can you drop this round to so-and-so just off Munster Road in Fulham on your way home? It used to be, knock, knock, knock. What's this? It's something my lister has sent to you. Don't know. Well, that's not building confidence and not building trust. So if you've had a great phone call, all you need to do is add one extra line, which is fantastic. Great to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. I'm just going to send you something through. Have a look at that. And when I see you on Thursday, we can go through. So the idea of the DigiKit is that we're not spending the first 10, 15 minutes talking to them about what we do and what we represent. Straight away, we can look in the back end of our DigiKit before we go, see what they've opened, what they've read, how long they spent on it. We can look at the analytics. So if I know that they've spent 30 seconds on the marketing section and 10 seconds on my picture, we know it's a marketing conversation. Look, if they spent more than 10 seconds on my picture, it's a panic, quite frankly. So it's, how do you shape that conversation? And because that's a live link, we can then update that after we've seen the property, and we can then add the property, the value. We can add the comparables that we would take out of CoreLogic. We would take out feeds directly out of that system. But the main thing that we've done to add value to our officers and our agents is that CRM that I spoke about earlier is like the beating heart of every single product and service that we run. So you put it in there and all of it filters out everywhere. So you're putting one piece of information in once, not one piece of information in 4 times to 4 different places. Comes back to efficiencies. Now, if you've got 3 prime agents coming out to see you, I ring on, what day is it? Friday today, so I'll ring them to come out next Wednesday. If I get a beep beep on my phone, SMS, oh, it's James, it's all set properly, it looks slick, it looks smart, and I've just added one extra line into a conversation, then that's an easy give. But it also means that I'm just a teeny weeny bit ahead of the next 2 agents before I meet them. And in this game, there is no silver medal. There is no bronze medal. It is winning by a yes, because the worst thing you want to hear is, we really liked you, but. And as soon as you hear the word but, great, lost the deal, lost the opportunity, lost $10,000, lost £10,000, whatever the numbers are. So your pre-list kit, the moment you answer the phone, has to be brilliant. The rapport, your reputation, your delivery of the DigiKit, and then you're on the front door seeing them. It doesn't start from the moment you walk in the door. It starts from the very last 10 sales that you've done on their street.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So Sharon says she would love to see the DigiKit report, please. So that'd be amazing.
We'll get an example across to you, Stephen. You can share it amongst your
Amazing. So if you'd be interested in it, let me know. Put it in the comment section, yes, and I will get it over to you. If you're watching on replay, just send me a direct message and I'll send it to you. Or podcast, just send me an email and I'll get that to you. Joe Taylor, thanks very much for watching. Hayley, thanks for joining us. Andy Davis, thanks for joining us as well. Vicky says, thank you, great advice. So again, with that DigiKit, and you explained it, presumably after when it goes as well.
Yeah.
Again, you can see them opening it, so then you know, right, I must call them now, and that's it.
It's like having half of the answers before you go to see them. In the old days, if I sent you a pack of, well, it used to look like this for a lot of people. Knock on the door, and that was it. How do you track that? How do you know that I've opened that? And that's the old way that portals get you, because they go, oh, the Evening Standard sold 40,000 copies, but did they read the property section? Whereas you've got this many clicks. Same sort of analytics that we can do to justify value and justify feedback is that if I can go back 5 minutes before I knock on the door, I can flip the phone open, have a look through the statistics and go, hang on a minute, they've looked at this, they've looked at that, bang. Or if we've done it with a follow-up presentation, we've done the full appraisal digitally presented to them and followed up, and they're spending 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. Hang on a minute, they forwarded it to 3 different IP addresses. What's going on here? So we can even turn it off at the back end if we don't like where it's been forwarded. But the point is that if you can have a conversation that you kind of know the answers to. I'll go back to my Winkworth days. I remember getting a phone call from somebody. We used to have this, it was quite early on with telephones where the telephone number used to come up on the desktop. And we had a very coy chap trying to not tell me who he was. So we Googled the telephone number in the middle of the phone call. So I could shape the conversation. So it was all about Wiltshire, not about Yorkshire, not about Derbyshire, not about Surrey. Knowing full well that 6 months later, that became Winkworth Devices. But it's having that inside knowledge on steroids. So if I can go, well, actually, your big thing is marketing. You spent 2.5 minutes on the marketing section. You've gone through it all. You've skipped past the fees because you see the value in our marketing proposition. It comes like everything and comes back to those early days in real estate. Talk about your fee last. Talk about what you're going to do, and this is my price. If you go straight in with my price is this, and I'm going to do that, you might as well just get the clients to put their hands over their ears.
100%. 100%. So look, I'm very conscious of time and I'm very grateful for your time. So is it okay to ask you a couple more questions?
Absolutely, fire away. And if anybody wants to further up, we can worry about that another day. Okay,
lovely. So lessons from COVID and lessons from lockdown, and have you made changes as a result? Or, you know, we've talked about with literally a whole decade's most probably gone in the last 6 months with everything that's gone on. So you know, what have you done and what's worked well?
We're probably a lot better off. And, you know, I'm an Englishman. My parents are still in the UK. My sister lives in St Albans. So there's a very, very heavy presence to the UK still. So when I look at the 27,000, whatever it is, cases in the UK a day, and then I look at it as going, well, hang on a minute, Australia's had 27,000 cases in the whole of COVID. It's quite hard to comprehend. And then when you look at the sort of the demographic and the size and the space, I mean, socially distancing for us is going 10 minutes out of the city. There's nobody there. So we've gone in a different approach. We're now through the other side. And what I'll say is when lockdown finishes, don't stop working now, because if you're not prospecting, listing and selling, you'll be left behind. Because my God, we have gone off the charts. Stock is 38% down. Prices are climbing left, right and center. People are buying property on FaceTime. And I touched on it earlier. Tech is your friend, not your replacement. If you're running old-fashioned systems and you're running old-fashioned ways, then a 25-year-old in a sharp suit that you're potentially bagging all the time is going to eat you alive. You've got to embrace tech. You know, we've been fortunate that we didn't have the restrictions and the lockdown sufficiently, but what we did is we embraced the ability to use technology to our advantage. So every property we listed, we do a 1-minute video. Well, if you shrink that minute down to 59 seconds, you can put that on Instagram. You can share it beyond belief. It builds your brand. It builds your personal brand. It's like a digital letter drop. But we know how many times people pick these up as opposed to go to their front door. So go wild with it, because if you don't, somebody else will. CRMs, your database, track who's opening it. Because if you're not prospecting, you're not listing, and you're not selling, and the old-fashioned adage is, if you haven't listed it, you can't sell it. And it's no surprise that the number of offices that I've got in South Australia at the top of the charts are the ones that basically sat all the way through COVID in their spare room with their headsets in, phone call after phone call, checking up if their clients are okay. Not asking if they need to sell. Hey, are you okay? How's it going? Mental health is a huge thing over here. And quite frankly, agents on commission will be struggling. I know we've had furlough schemes and what have you like that, but just asking if you're okay to any client, oh, I'm fine, actually, look, I'm probably going to, if they're going to talk about selling the house, they're going to talk to it. But if you're not imparting knowledge and advice and information and you're just touching base, you've got to add value. But one thing I would leave is tech is your friend, not your replacement.
Okay, can I just come back to you on one thing? Sorry, keep on making me want to ask more questions. The 1 minute videos.
Yes.
So what sort of content would that be for a minute?
So one of the things that you want to do is inspire someone that wants to look at it. It's like writing the property details. You want to write enough of those property details to go, wow, this looks amazing, I want to see it. But not tell them everything. No different to the video. It's just the content's different. So you want to show them the features, the benefits, why they should buy it. You should be in the video because you're branded, your brand is there, your contact details are there. If people start sitting at home clicking the internet because they're bored, and quite frankly, if you look at internet traffic over the next month versus your previous month, you'll see that your office websites are going through the charts. Make yourself memorable for the right reasons. Too many people are beige and get lost in the background.
100%. There you go. So James wishes you a good afternoon. Sorry, Russell Humphrey joining us, and Martin Baum. So I'm sure you know Martin from your time.
Yep, long time since I saw the president's ball at the Savoy.
There you go. There you go. So morning, Martin. Morning, Russell. Thanks for joining us. One final thing then. You talked about people buying property off FaceTime.
Yes.
I think people here won't think that, well, why are they going to buy their biggest asset potentially on FaceTime?
For the same reason that I bought a car unseen from Audi in West London about 6 years ago. If you're a trusted brand, you're dealing with a trusted advisor, you're dealing with a good reputation, why would you not be happy to transact? And you know what, Stephen? People have been buying property unseen for years in the UK. It's called the new build sector. If you're doing it right and you trust it and your Google reviews say you're good and all of the other reviews say you're good and you've dealt with their friends, then it's easier to do a deal. And your legal system, they'll do the due diligence. But you know what? If you're dishonorable, it's a very short career. And so it should be for the rest of us.
Brilliant. Look, I'd love to do a part 2 with you.
Let me know when. I'll be happy to tune in. If you want to get questions, we'll work through them.
But that's fantastic. Fran, good morning. Incredibly grateful for giving up your time this evening. I know you've got your 3 kids, you've got your dog, your wife all waiting for you. Most probably a nice barbecue as well.
Well, probably a cold beer this evening. It's cricket at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, good. Well, that's my favourite sport. So enjoy it. It's a big bash soon, isn't it?
Big bash starts, and again, because we're in a fortunate situation, we'll probably have 25,000 people in the stadium. Because I say social distancing, it would normally be 50,000. But yes, the one great advantage is that we've got here is that we can be outside pretty much 9-10 months of the year. And that's been evident with me coming out of retirement to play rugby again, my son playing rugby and cricket and cycling when we get spare moment as well. So, working hard gives you a great family life, and it's important that a good family life makes you appreciate the hard work, because there should be in equal measure, but family first.
Brilliant. Look, thanks so much for your time. Really, really grateful. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you all for getting up very early this morning and watching, everybody. Or if you're watching on replay or you're listening onto the podcast, thank you very much. Incredibly grateful. Next week, going to be joined by Charlie Perdios and Asad Riaz to discuss their New Homes collaboration on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be joined by Mike Coulter, who's going to be talking about tiny habits and part of a BJ Fogg, one of my favourite books of the year, Tiny Habits. So thanks very much. Have a great Friday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. James, thanks for being an amazing guest. Thanks for sharing it. And there would definitely be a part 2. So look forward to it. Bye, everybody.
Look forward to it. Take care.